And welcome to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett. Kent Myers has the week off. Well, this week we're going to discuss the term and the usage of bariatrics. Bariatrics is a term that deals with obesity, and if you haven't heard of the term, you're not familiar with it, I think you've tuned into the right show. It's definitely an area of science that is getting more and more attention as this nation becomes more and more obese. We have two experts on the subject, and we'll get started on The Verdict right after this.
Every day America uses clean-burning natural gas instead of coal or oil is a day of victory for our environment. That's why Chesapeake chose to explore for natural gas exclusively, and we've never looked back. Because natural gas burns twice as clean as oil or coal, and reducing carbon emissions to combat potential global warming is every bit as urgent as cutting our dependence on energy imports. As America's #1 driller of new gas wells, Chesapeake is moving fast to find untapped reserves of natural gas here at home. It's the right fuel for America's economy and the fuel for a clean air future. We just happen to be early to see it so clearly. Chesapeake, natural gas wins the day.
There's a whole new world online, but it's not always safe for kids. Never give your name, phone, address, or password to anyone you met online, and always keep your personal information private. It's the safe way for kids, right, gang?
Right. Be safe online.
Thanks to Lauren Nelson and Cox, we're working to keep Oklahoma kids safer online. For your free guide, log on now. And if you feel your child has been placed in danger by someone online, notify law enforcement today.
Are you the one looking for an exciting new career? If so, we are the one looking for you. We are Cox Communications, and we are searching for field service representatives. FSRs interact and perform services at our customers' home. Sound like the job for you? Then some of the things you need are a high school diploma and a good driving record. But for complete job description and qualification, go to jobs@cox.com.
Welcome back to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett. Kent Myers has the week off. This week we're discussing bariatrics. It's a term that you may not be familiar with, B-A-R-I-A-T-R-I-C, bariatric. And our first guest today is Gary Guidry. Gary is the president of Foundation Bariatric Affiliates, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Foundation Surgery Affiliates, and you office at Foundation's corporate offices in Oklahoma City. Gary is a graduate of Charity Hospital School of Nursing with a diploma in nursing, University of South Alabama with a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing, and the University of Phoenix with an MBA with an emphasis in health care management. And since 2000, you've been involved in bariatric surgery and medical programs, and you're a member of the you're a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives. Gary, welcome to your first visit on The Verdict, but we hope you'll be back many, many times to come.
Thank you for having me.
Our second guest is Curtis Summers. Curtis is the Chief Executive Officer at Foundation Bariatric Hospital of Oklahoma. He earned his bachelor degree from Newman University in Wichita, Kansas, and his master's in business administration from Oklahoma Christian University. He has experience in healthcare marketing and advertising. He spent 3 years with HCA working for the OU Medical Center. And probably a good time now just to kind of define bariatrics so our audience has some idea of where we're going in this discussion. Bariatrics is the branch of medicine that deals with the cause, prevention, and treatment of obesity. And the term bariatrics is derived from the Greek root word baro, which means weight, as in barometer, and Iatrics as in the branch of medicine, so bariatrics. Welcome both of you to the show. Curtis, why don't you start with Foundation Surgery Affiliates? How did that company start and how did it branch off into the obesity area?
Okay. Foundation Surgery Affiliates originated as a surgery center company for 10 years. We just celebrated our 11th year as Foundation Surgery Affiliates. And working within that outpatient setting, we dealt daily with surgeries from orthopedics to podiatry to ENT, and again, got our experience within surgery centers. Within the past 3 to 4 years, Foundation has started to branch into a hospital setting, and within that, our CEO, Tom Michaud, who has had issues with obesity, really took this to heart. And so with doing that and going into that area, we recruited Gary Guidry to come in and open up the bariatric program for Foundation.
Yeah, Tom not only ran the company, he became a patient.
Right.
And
That's
I guess
correct.
one of the test models for what Foundation Surgery is now doing with bariatrics. So go over who's a candidate.
I think everybody's a candidate for bariatrics because what WeightWise models, what we model is the prevention and the treatment for obesity, and somebody as little as 10 pounds overweight is a candidate for some of the comorbidities that are associated with obesity, whether it's hypertension, sleep apnea. So we have a program that takes somebody through a non-surgical and surgical program. So we feel and treat everybody as a candidate for bariatrics.
See, that's different than what I would have suspected because I thought it was for obese people. What you're saying is the prevention of obesity as well as some of the more drastic measures that have to be taken. Gary, tell us about what's going on in Oklahoma City with bariatrics and what your company's trying to get involved with.
Sure, and branching off on what Curtis has explained a little bit, we saw the need, particularly our CEO, Tom Michaud, for a program that really had an avenue for treatment for a large subset of not only Oklahoma, but of course the United States. The statistics as it relates to obesity are staggering. 120 million people throughout the country are either overweight, obese, or morbidly obese.
And how's that defined?
Different subcategories of overweight, obese, and morbidly obese. The National Institute of Health really defines that through a concept called body mass index. And typically someone who is overweight has a body mass index greater than 25. Someone who is obese has a body mass index between 25 and 30. And someone who is considered morbidly obese, which would be someone who would be a candidate for a surgical procedure, has a body mass index greater than 35. So the National Institutes of Health and our government have classified obesity into those 3 subsets.
And in Oklahoma City and Edmond more specifically, I know you guys are actually working with patients. Kind of break that down. What's the process been like and how many surgeries have you all done?
In our hospital, we've been open for a little over a year now and have performed over 200 bariatric procedures. We have over 1,000 members within our program. That may be, as Curtis alluded to earlier, either overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. Our mindset in creating this program was very altruistic in nature in that we felt from a medical perspective there was not a proven long-term successful program that addressed obesity. Again, the statistics are staggering in Oklahoma City as well as throughout the country, and we felt as a medical provider that we needed to step up to the plate and provide an alternative for folks who may fit into one of those 3 categories and not only limit it to, let's say, a surgical procedure, but broaden that to treating obesity, preventing obesity. Our really goal and mission of this company, Foundation Bariatric Affiliates, is to create a unified standard within obesity and the treatment of obesity that doesn't exist. As an example, what we use is called a multidisciplinary approach to obesity. We understand that obesity is caused by a number of different factors. There's not just one key etiological or cause of obesity. It could be social, it could be psychological, it could be genetic, it could be environmental. So within our program, we have professionals that are trained to deal with each one of those possible causes of obesity. As an example, a potential patient coming into our program will see a medically trained physician where they'll be evaluated, examined, tested, and placed into a program where they can see an exercise physiologist, a dietitian, a psychologist, so that we deal with the gamut of issues that a person has to go through when they are obese. There again is not one main cause, so we feel through a programmatic approach, through our weight-wise program, Multi-Disciplinary Innate, that we can effectively treat, manage, and educate the patient population and you know, Oklahoma as a whole with this program. Being an Oklahoma City-based company, our corporate office is located here, we felt a strong need that we needed to be very prevalent in the market, and we needed to offer Oklahomans an opportunity for treatment, break down any barriers that currently exist for someone to pick up that phone and call or schedule an appointment with one of our providers, so that, again, those barriers are gone and it's ease of use into our program and having an effective medically driven program.
We've got about 1 minute left in this segment. Curtis, I'm interested, how does a patient typically find their way to this bariatric system? In other words, is it their own family doctor who's recommending because they just see that they don't see a good solution in their current patient-doctor relationship? Or are people literally picking up the phone and calling you independently of their own medical care?
We see a lot of both. We work in a lot of marketing areas. We do the traditional marketing advertising where a patient can self-refer, pick up the phone and call in. We also work a lot with the primary care physicians to educate them as well of what we can handle as far as a program, and then they can refer their patients into us as well. So we see a wide range of how patients enter our program, whether it's through the primary care physicians, maybe one of their specialists, a cardiologist, also through the advertising as far as the marketing in the paper and the TV ads.
Curtis Summers, Gary Guidry are here from Foundation Bariatrics Affiliates. We're discussing bariatrics in general, and we're going to find more about the actual surgery that can really help people who are morbidly obese, and it's a growing epidemic in the United States. We'll be right back. You're watching The Verdict.
Shining is taking responsibility. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, we know managing your health care can be overwhelming, and it's our job to help you meet the challenge. By guiding, supporting, and showing the way, we encourage you to gain control. Because we believe the best tool we can give you is the confidence to take charge. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma, shining through.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Our pledge as a company is to provide quality of service for our paying customers.
When you illegally hook up cable,
everyone pays.
Theft of cable can cause outages.
Sometimes poor reception.
We seek out illegal use.
And we prosecute offenders.
If you know someone not paying for service,
call us at 1-800-466-5590.
You could remain anonymous.
Cable theft. It's more serious than you think. It's a crime.
Many of us are careful to filter the water our children drink. But what about the information they're drinking in from the internet? Do you know where your child is going online or who they're talking to? With Cox Communications, there are easy ways to find out and helpful tools for filtering their internet use. I'm proud to partner with Cox Communications to help safeguard our nation's children. To learn more, visit cox.com/takecharge. Our children are our crown jewels. Let's protect them.
Welcome back to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett. Kent Myers has the week off. In this show, we're dealing with bariatrics, and we have two guests who know all about it. They're from Foundation Bariatric Affiliates, Curtis Summers and Gary Guidry. Gary, you've talked a lot about philosophy and how this is a fairly altruistic vision that your company has and CEO Tom Michaud has for trying to help people that just don't seem to be able to get control of their weight loss. How does that philosophy transfer into the lives of patients? Because as a lot of the obesity issues that I see do seem to be psychological in nature and becomes, you know, cultural to a certain extent.
That's why we created this program. We understood that there are a multitude of factors that play into someone who does gain weight and continues to gain weight and goes through that yo-yo cycle of dieting. We provide what we like to call that turnkey approach. In essence, we address that psychological issue through trained psychologists within our program who understand the mentality and behavioral modifications that need to take place in order for the patient to be successful. The patient, when they come into our program, also sees our exercise physiologist, knowing that exercise plays a very big role in someone's ability to maintain weight loss in the long term. So trained exercise physiologists that cater a program for an individual to be successful. Dietitians, really at the essence of weight loss, educating our patients on exactly what proper food choices need to take place, what a carbohydrate is, what a protein is, and the proper amount that each individual needs to take in and expend in order to, number one, lose weight, but more importantly, to maintain weight loss and hopefully resolve some of what we call comorbidities, those things that are, those disease processes that are associated with obesity, diabetes, hypertension. And it's amazing to see within our program that once patients begin to lose that weight, those medication needs go away, those comorbidities go away. And in the long run, weight loss is the goal, but more importantly, health is the goal. And that is resolving those issues or disease processes that someone may be predisposed to or currently experiencing.
You hit on a key word there, and that is education, because I would imagine if you have two parents who deal with weight issues, not only are their children likely to have biological, exposure to being overweight, but if they're in a family who doesn't eat correctly or doesn't exercise enough, they're more likely to grow up, and you have a culture that just continues to feed itself. So I think it's so important to kind of break down some of those the educational issues that just aren't not there for whatever reason.
Mick, it's amazing. Today in our society, we have 5-year-old children walking around that have type 2 diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes in the past was referred to as adult onset diabetes and is a direct correlation to someone being obese. We are very heavily weighted in educating and making people aware of obesity becoming, and it is, an epidemic in Oklahoma and also in this country. So you're right on when we say education is really the key, awareness, prevention, giving people tools to be successful, making someone accountable for their actions, but yet holding their hand through that process so they have the resources available to them to be successful.
Curtis, Gary talked about the altruistic vision of Tom Michaud and how he wants to help people and is a big supporter of Oklahoma City in general and the state of Oklahoma also in general. But I got to think from a purely business standpoint, which is part of your main concern, there's no end to the number of patients out there. I mean, I don't see how you pick and choose with this explosion of obesity that's taking place.
That's true. I think there are a lot of people who are in need of this type of treatment or this type of program. However, there are certain roadblocks that kind of hit us, and that is from insurance to financially being able to physically being able to help yourself to take care of this issue. And that's what the WeightWise program kind of takes in hand. It's a full program for the person who can just do once a week to the person that can do once a month to every 6 months. And it's a multidisciplinary program that's medical and surgical. And Gary talked about the tools and the behavior modification. And that's where we kind of get into surgery is just a tool. The program is really what feeds us in WeightWise and the prevention of obesity. And we provide the patient with tools to be successful. Surgery may be that tool, diet and exercise may be that tool, but really it's the education, behavior modification that really ensures that the patient's going to have long-term success.
One theme I'm picking up on from both of you is that when someone walks in the door, you don't schedule their surgery. I mean, this is a case-by-case example, and what you're really wanting to do is to teach them to be healthier. Nonetheless, if someone's watching and they said, I have insurance, I wonder if my insurance would cover this procedure or that system. How would they find out? What's the likelihood that insurance will cover it?
Well, in this market, we found about 60% of the time insurance does cover this procedure. So it's getting better. And the easiest way to find out would either to be calling 1-866-WeightWise or to log on to weightwise.com and find us, to call us, and we would register you for a free seminar. And basically it's an educational seminar to learn about our program, to learn about obesity, to learn about your the areas that you can make decisions to best fit you. And basically when we do a seminar, we look for somebody to basically check us out as much as we are looking at your medical history, what your goals are and your objectives are. So the seminar is the key entry part into our program. And then through that, we determine what is the best program for you. And surgery is not always the answer.
Right. Well, Gary, let's say that a patient comes in and it is determined that surgery is going to be part of the procedure and a part of what they do. Can you explain in detail what it is we're talking about? How is surgery going to change this person's life?
Sure. As it relates to the surgical procedure itself, within our program, there are two decisions or choices the patient's faced with as they discuss this with the surgeon, that being the laparoscopic Roux-en-Y gastric bypass or the laparoscopic bandage.
Can you explain the difference?
Sure. The laparoscopic Roux-en-Y gastric bypass is considered the gold standard. It is what a majority of the celebrities you see out there that have had, and in essence it's a procedure where two components take place. We have a restrictive mechanism to the procedure and a malabsorptive mechanism to this procedure. Restrictive in a sense that we create a very small stomach, a small pouch. We restrict the amount of food an individual can eat through mechanically a small pouch. We then bypass a large portion of the patient's stomach as well as small intestine so that the amount of food that they're taking in, they aren't absorbing as much. Hence, we see drastic weight loss occur over the course of a year, in some instances greater than 100 pounds.
Are you creating two stomachs in a sense?
No, what we're doing is creating one stomach, bypassing the remnant that is left with a loop of intestine that we bring up in that area. So there is one stomach pouch and one gastric bypass limb where food is absorbed through.
And so the body suddenly is receiving much less food.
Much less food.
I mean, what, 50%, 80%?
Probably 90, 95%.
Okay, so the stomach is just completely fooled into thinking this person is eating much, much, much less, which they are. But from the patient standpoint, they have some sort of fulfillment because they feel full. Is that basically
That
right?
is basically it. And what we're doing, and we teach patients and tell patients, we're resetting your metabolism. Through years of you gaining weight, your metabolism and your metabolic rate has gotten to a point where someone who is morbidly obese can eat Jell-O and gain weight because their metabolism is such that is it immediately stored in their fat cells. What we do with the procedure is we're resetting that metabolism. We're allowing that metabolism to slow down, to take, in essence, that food, use it effectively, and burn it off quickly.
Now, is this short term? Is this something someone does for a period of life, or do you try to communicate that this is the rest of your life? Don't look at this as some sort of short-term fix.
This has to be a long-term fix. It has to be something that an individual makes a decision to have and is prepared for the rest of their life to cope and deal with this procedure and this new metabolism. We, in essence, have told patients that if they do not commit to that lifelong goal or change, that the procedure itself, we can perform on them, but you won't be successful. So in our eyes, that is not a successful candidate or a candidate for our program. We commit as a program and as a company to that patient for life. Whether you want to or not, we're going to contact you, we're going to keep in touch with you to make sure that you're continuing to use the educational tools we've given you to be successful for the long term. And the gastric bypass in and of itself is the majority of the procedures we perform within our system. The lap band procedure is a new device, was FDA approved in 2002, and we've seen a large proliferation of patients who are opting for that procedure. number one being it is less invasive. You don't spend as much time in the hospital, and it is adjustable, which in essence, simplistically, what we do is place a small elastic ring around the top of the stomach and squeeze that down so that we create that small pouch. And we restrict the amount of calories an individual can eat. There's no malabsorptive component to this as well. The differences between the two procedures, and it is a patient choice, we give them that decision, and that choice is, with the gastric bypass, we see a quicker weight loss. With the gastric band, we see a slower weight loss.
I'm going to have to cut you off there. This show has gone so fast, we're going to have you guys on again in a future episode. Sure. Gary Guidry, Curtis Summers with Foundation Bariatrics, really changing the lives of a lot of Oklahomans, and with some really great technology. I'll give you that internet site, that website, when we get back and wrap up this edition of The Verdict. Stay with us.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.